important topics. They really are. First, the advocating for yourself process with kidney disease and the failure in transplant. I did lose my autonomy. It is something that when you are.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am naturopathic Dr. Fiona Chin, co-founder of Kidney Coach, Kidney Disease Solution, and our supplements Kaigenesis. And I am very excited today to be joined for the first time by the beautiful, amazing Stephanie Modavis. Now, Stephanie is such a, look at her, she's drop dead, stunning, gorgeous. But Stephanie, believe it or not, has been through 2 kidney transplants, and she just has such a wealth of knowledge. And she's super passionate about holistic healthcare, coaching, and how to navigate the journey of healing after, before, and moving through things like autoimmune diseases, kidney failure, and then and I'll let Stephanie share her story, but she's been on dialysis and then the heartbreak of a failed transplant and having to go through it all again. But what I really love about Stephanie is that her resilience and really what she's cultivated through her journey to come up with strategies and ways that really have allowed her to navigate something that's super stressful and transform it into something that she's not only used to help heal herself. Talk to me about those 2 things. So I think they're things that I think people don't advocate for themselves because we hand our power over to someone else. Yeah. And then that whole concept around surrender, and how that isn't enough.
Yeah. So I think those are critically important topics. They really are. First, the advocating for yourself. I will say that this was in the beginning when I first started my journey and I went through the first process with kidney disease and the failure in transplant. There was a period of time, probably about a year, where I did lose my autonomy. It is something that when you are sick and you get news like that, it is shocking. It's shocking. So when I went in, there's this immediate transfer of energy where you feel like you're at the behest of the provider and like you have to just do whatever they say because your life depends on it. So there's some sort of transference of energy when you step into the hospital system and you are that sick where you're depending, you're desperate. So it was a little messy at first, but I learned very quickly that if I just surrender myself, and I had some physicians who were challenging my autonomy, like the gentleman who said, don't do that stuff anymore. I started to realize I need to be a part of this journey. And if I don't find my voice, they will happily decide how my journey is going to go for me. And I started to meet other patients, especially on dialysis. And I really realized that there was an epidemic of people claiming their autonomy and partnership with the experts and the providers. I could see it playing out. And again, because of my history, I was like, wow, this is kind of like almost like a victim savior type of dynamic happening here, right? But it's so deeply, it's kind of hidden that it's hard to be aware of unless you have education on those dynamics. But I started to see that if I don't stand up for myself and start being myself in these appointments, and of course it's pressure. You got 10 minutes, you got to have all your questions, your medication list. So it's like, when do I have time to be myself even? Right. So I started to just commit to show up as myself. That I would say anybody listening, the first thing you can do before you advocate for yourself is just make sure you're being yourself in your appointments. You know, when I would talk to my physicians, I said, look, I need to establish a relationship with you. How are you? What's going on? So I kind of made it clear that I wasn't going to accept anything other than actually having a relationship, a friendship with my provider. And, you know, I was young and I was very sick and I was charismatic. So they wanted to help. So that was very important. If you can't be yourself, or you don't have enough time, it doesn't feel equal, right? It feels like it's very hierarchical and you're just getting a service. And if that's how you want to go about your care, by all means, they will be happy to do that because I think that's what they're used to. But
Mm.
I would suggest everybody listening to the call, the first thing you need to do is you really need to be yourself, which, you know what I learned, Fiona, when I made that commitment to myself, there was a lot about myself that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it really opened up a lot. I thought if I'm going to be myself, well, who really am I?
Mm.
How do I really need to speak to these people? Like I have to fully be myself. So using your voice and not being afraid if somebody in authority, if you need to say, this is not working for me, please don't be afraid to change doctors. It doesn't have to be an argument or aggressive, but you have a right to see your provider as an equal. It's a service. It's also a transaction. They want to help, but unfortunately, I think the Western model in particular, I don't know how it is in other countries, is that the providers have gotten so used to taking care of individuals rather than them stepping up to claim their self responsibility and autonomy within it. And to me, that feels like the profound distinguishing factor between functional and integrative medicine and Western medicine is that one takes care of you and the other one wants you to take care of yourself and you collaboratively work together.
I think that's a really good distinction. And when people are really sick, sometimes people just want to be taken care of,
Right, right.
but I think in that, you give that power away. And I always say to patients, no one is an expert on your body but you. You know it inside and out. And there is these gut intuitions and feelings. And,
Yeah.
specialists might say something and you might be like, that just doesn't feel right. And it's those moments that I think it's really important because, if I'm working with anyone, I always say to them, never put me in a spot where you think I know your body better than you. I don't. So if I ever say anything that just you're like, sure about this, or that doesn't quite make sense, I'm like, you tell me. I will never, ever override an intuition or anything like that because you live in that body. I don't. You will always, you are the absolute expert of your body. No doctor, no matter
Yeah.
what PhD and qualifications they have, will ever know it better than you. So I think that's a really good distinction to make.
Yeah, and that is again, it is still there's a gap, a schism between what you're saying and what many of here in the West providers they will assume that they know your body better than you, but what they're referring to is clinically. They're referring to the clinical process. They're referring to actually they do know parts of my body better than I do, right? But
Yeah.
there has to be that awareness that we keep discussing is that yes, you may know how my body works functionally mechanically better than I do, but we have to value the gut instinct, the intuition, and the feelings. And that's something that I profoundly advocate for now is helping providers understand that their patient's going to have a better experience if you honor how they feel.
If you want more information about Stephanie, I'll put in all the links below. If you want to find out more about what we do, head to www.kidneycoach.com. You'll often find it, not often, you will also find us on Facebook and Instagram under all the same stuff. Remember to hit subscribe and like. That way you will get notified anytime we put up new content. Stephanie, thank you again. Really appreciate you. Looking forward to this journey with you. And everybody listening, thank you for being part of our community. As always, I hope you found this valuable. We look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.